Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Circle of the World podcast, where we discuss Joe Abercrombie's First Law series. I am one of your hosts, Lord Chamberlain Jeffrey, and here are my co-hosts,
Archlector George.
And Harrison, the Adeptus Historical.
We continue our coverage of Last Argument of Kings, the third book in the original trilogy. For this episode, we'll be covering After the Rains and Answers. So, let's get started. As usual, we want to thank everybody, all 22 people that follow us and listen to our episodes. We want to continuously remind you to continue to follow us on all the social medias, please, as usual, because apparently that's a thing I have to do, I guess. Anything you guys want to add before we get going?
No, nothing new or crazy. Just thank you for the support, and hope you guys enjoy the show.
Yep. Yes.
Yeah, thanks for following us all the way through to near the end of this book.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and bear with us, please. I think we mentioned it last week or the week before. We I just moved into the new apartment, and I know Harrison's got a lot going on. So does George, and just hopefully within a week or two or three, everything will get settled. Please, God, please. Anyway, so let's move on, and we'll start our first chapter read through. Actually, no, we won't. Sorry, that's a lie. I lied to you. Best
You
meme of the week.
liar!
Best meme of the week.
Take him
Go
to
ahead.
the House of Questions.
God damn it. George, go ahead and take it away.
So we have the video of Vince McMahon from WWE being very emotional, and it's just that line from very early on in the Blade itself, and it said they've been through a lot together, him and that pot. Fare you well, old friend. And the pot did not reply. And this is user on Reddit, P.O. Pat. I think I'm saying that right. And that's absolutely brilliant.
It's a great one.
It's funny how it all comes back to the pot in the end. We're at the end of these. We're at the end of Last Argument of Kings, and we're still talking about the pot.
That's all we can do. Just talk about that baby pot. Anyway. But yeah, thank you for that. What was the user's name again?
P.O. Pat.
P.O. Pat. Thank you very much. All right, so we'll move on to After the Rains. And we start off this chapter from the perspective of our boy, lover of peace, Logan Ninefingers. He is chilling on the parapet of some tower, some random tower. And he's thinking back to the time when he was on top of the Tower of Chains, when he stayed in Adril back in the Blade itself, with Bayaz and Malachus Quai, when Malachus Quai was Malachus Quai and not,
Malachus
Ptolemy.
Pie.
Malachus Pie. Yes. The often abused, unappreciated Malachus Quai, at least when it comes to, who was it, Harrison? Harrison didn't like him. And he was, reminiscing on how purdy Adra looked at that time. The city of jewels, one could say. And now it's more like shit. There's just so much wreckage everywhere, obviously from the siege, the battle, and Bayaz's little foray into magic, nuclear holocaust stuffism, and yeah, he's not really a fan of the view here. It's not the best view. It's probably what Berlin looked like after the Russians came through.
Yeah, you ever been to Dresden after the war? Jesus.
or with Hiroshima and Nagasaki.
Just full blown, just we slowly edge into full on.
Just have that meme of Cillian Murphy, Oppenheimer, just like his total disbelief of what he created. All right. So yeah, Logan is less than enthralled with the view. And he's obviously aching because, if you think about it, the man has been fighting in the high places, fighting the feared, fighting that eater. Just the man is sore. And then he hears, before he actually hears the voice, he obviously is starting to think about himself, about a man that's made of death, just like Bethod said. Nothing that, Dogman said it yesterday, or like he knew it. And that's Logan's oldest friend, and that's obviously, affecting him. And he thought back to the time when he was kind of having another nice moment, like on a balcony when he was at the Great Northern Library, and he thought that he could be a man that could change, and obviously, you know, not the case.
Yeah, it didn't work out for you, Logan.
No. And then he hears a voice, and it's Master Nine Fingers. Who else could it be but our boy, our creator of chaos and order, Bayaz.
Bayaz!
And Logan is not too thrilled to see him, actually, ever since, Bethod told him that, Bayaz is the reason that, Bethod didn't kill Logan. Uh, and Logan looks at Bayaz. He's like, "Man, this motherfucker looks younger. He looks rejuvenated." Bayaz has got a little pep to his step, a little jaunt.
Yeah, you can almost see some gray or some black inside that white, right?
I bet. And and Bayaz compliments him on being the king now, king of the Northmen. Overthrew Bethard, and then took his spot. And then Logan's like, "That wasn't how it happened." And Bayaz just glosses over it. Details, my good man, details.
Yeah, I love that. Like, even at this point, like Logan's like, even despite him literally just doing his thing, where he looks out and is like, "Wow, I'm reflecting on life. Like, I can be better. I'm all fucked up. I don't know what to do." And then Bayaz is like, "Yeah, I heard you did this thing," which is just he stated a fact. And Logan's like, "No, wasn't how it happened. No." He's still in denial.
And it's exactly the same line that he uses when he's talking to Bethel just before that as well.
Yeah, that wasn't how it happened.
Like you said, he tells him like, "Oh yeah, I'm the reason that Well, Bayaz doesn't really brag about it. Logan just like inquires, "Hey, Bethod said this thing. Is this true?" And Bayaz is like, "Well, yeah, it's true." And then Logan's like, "I don't like that." And he's like, well, you never wanted to know. Remember, you literally told me that you do not want to know why you're with me, why I sought you out. You said you didn't want to know the purpose of my plan. You asked for this. I would have been happy to let you know, but I didn't really want to hurt our relationship either." Bayaz is being like super cordial here, and this is how he really did enjoy Logan's friendship, which is we saw a lot of Bayaz through Logan's eyes, and Bayaz has not really been an ass to Logan because he, like he says, he enjoys him as a person.
Yeah.
And so we're getting to see even though we know that Bayaz is kind of bad, it's kind of a bad boy now, with how he was been acting recently.
He's a bad boy.
And Logan, but we see it kind of through Logan's eyes. I remember the first time I'm reading this, I'm like, yeah, fuck you, Bayaz. Even though, in this situation, Logan has no reason to be upset with him.
Yeah, he really has none.
It's kind of unreasonable.
Yeah, I mean, Bayaz is probably within his rights to be like, "Oh, thank you, it'd be nice. I saved your life, even if it was for my own purposes."
Yeah.
I mean, he didn't hold it over his head. I mean, he might have, but he didn't.
Yeah, and Bayaz said, when Logan was like, "It'd have been nice to know," Bayaz is like, "Bro, you said you didn't want to know anything. You told me not to tell you anything. You didn't ask. So what do you want me to do? Just say, the minute I meet you, say, hey,
you owe me.
You owe your life to me. Come on, man." And Logan's he's just son of a bitch. He doesn't want to be reasoned with. And so then he asks, he's like, "Well, what about Kwai? I'd like to talk to him," or whatever. And the Bayaz just immediately goes, "Dead. We feel his loss most keenly."
So genuine.
Oh man. And then Logan's kind of disheartened by this. You guys just, of course, people just die and you just have to carry on. And then
I find it interesting that he immediately goes, "Oh, I wasted all that time and energy carrying him to the Northern Library when he's going to die anyway." And it's like, Logan, come on, that's not the point.
Yeah. Well, it shows it shows his character. Yes, Logan is complicated. He's also not just all evil or something. But is that why he did it? What is he doing? What is he saying?
Yeah, I mean, I think in the moment, he tried to do a good thing and take care of Kwai. I think this is him at this moment, I would say this
Feeling-
is him kind
feeling
of coming.
sorry.
Huh?
Feeling sorry for himself.
No. Like coming up with reasons or excuses for his behavior. You know, like, okay, I am the Bloody Nine, and because, oh well, you know, everyone dies, and there was no point in doing a good thing in the past because he ended up dead anyway. This is like part and parcel of his decision making, his rationale in terms of rationalizing all his actions. Do you know what I mean? So like,
Yeah, that's a good point.
he's probably calling himself, like, right now he's like, oh, it was a waste to have saved Kwai. You know, so right now he's confirming the belief that, you know, it's a waste to try to be a good person. Whereas, you know, in the past when he did save Kwai, that was a very noble act. We all were like, oh, look at him, he's gonna eat the food. He's not leaving Kwai behind, all that jazz. He left a pot behind. You know, rest in peace, pot. You know what I mean? So
Right. Yeah. That's a good point.
whereas now he's just like, okay, well, it didn't work out because he died out of, out of my own, no fault of my own or anything, but because he died, and just because I lost a friend yesterday. He's just giving himself. He's trying to validate himself into just. I'm sorry. He's trying to validate the shitty choices he's made recently, especially when he returned to the North. That's what I'm reading this as.
I think that's a good point, Jeff. I think you're right.
And I think at the same time, it's kind of a tragedy that one of the like really good things that Logan does eventually come to nothing.
Yeah. And then, like, he says, like, he lost a friend yesterday, a good friend yesterday, and then Logan says, like, I should be with my own kind, helping with the burying, helping with the wounded, and then Bayaz just says, yep, but yet you are here looking down. Yowza. But Bayaz goes, I entirely understand your feelings that healing is for the young, and as we get older, we find that we have less and less patience with the wounded. And then Bayaz goes, I am very old.
Oh, that is such a chilling line.
Yep.
Like, it just shows you how much Bayaz just does not give a
not
shit
give a
about
fuck.
people.
Yep.
Yeah, how disassociated he is.
I mean, if you lived for hundreds and hundreds or 1,000 years, or whatever, I'd probably be disassociated too.
Yeah, I mean, you've got like 100-year-olds that are like, oh my god,
fucking hate me.
Fucking hate living.
Yeah, Bayaz, like, you're right. It really is a chilling line, and I feel like in this, anytime we see Bayaz and Logan like talk to each other, like especially on a reread through, they are both simultaneously being completely honest and complete liars to each other. Like, their words are being honest, but their intentions are completely like opposite all the time. And like they act like a certain way, and they say certain things and act different, all the time, and specifically to each other. And that's why we have such a glossy view for so much of the book for both of them. And it's just so interesting how he wrote them like kind of as a duo for a lot of the series, and you don't even realize it until like the end.
Yeah, I mean, you could kind of see it as like the traditional character archetype things. If we see Logan as like the main character, or even Giselle, like, and then Bayaz is like this mentor.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, he stays the same and they change.
Yeah, but sort of. You know what I mean? It's Joe's way of sort of subverting that, and I know the subversion trope has become a trope of its own. But
yeah, it has.
This was back in 2007. They hadn't done all that yet.
No, I know. And then so we get a bit of a break. We're still in Logan's perspective, and he gets to a door. He lifts his hand to knock. He's a little nervous, but he decides to knock. He remembers the sour, sweet smell of her, the strength of her hands, the shape of her frown. Wow. And so then he knocks on the door. Didn't, get a reply. Knocked again, nothing. So he kind of he's just nervous. So he just kind of just launches the door open like he's busting in, like he's like a SWAT raid or something. And Pharaoh's
Which is,
there.
In hindsight, probably not a good thing to do with Pharaoh.
Yeah, because
it's a good way to get shot.
Yeah, or get an arrow in your eye. Yeah, so he's obviously there trying to meet Pharaoh, and then he He slams the door open. Pharaoh spins around, and her clothes are dirty, even more than usual. And her eyes are wide and wild, and her fists are clenched. But when she saw it was him, her face fell. I guess like ugh, or like I don't know, she got sad or just like ugh. And Logan kind of was just like oh, and he's like, hey, it's me, Logan. And then she doesn't really acknowledge it, and then she looks at the window, walks towards it a little bit, then suddenly turns around, looks at like I guess a wall or whatever, and she's like there, and Logan's like huh, and then she says like, do you not hear them? And Logan's he's he hear who? And Pharaoh says, them, you idiot. And then Logan isn't just like he wasn't sure how this was gonna go in the first place, but he did not think it was gonna go like this. But he decided he's just gonna continue on with what he intended to do, and he said, he tells her that he's a king now, a king of the Northmen. Can you believe it? Him and Luther, can you think of two more worthless bastards, to put crowns on? And she didn't even acknowledge that. And he goes, okay. He's like,
I was handing you an easy one there. Come on.
yeah. And then he goes, Pharaoh. So look, the way things turned out between us, the way we left it, he wished he hadn't. He doesn't know what to say. He puts a hand on his shoulder. And he's like, I'm trying to tell you. And she turns. Put her hand over his mouth, pulls him down to his knees, puts her ear to the floor, and she goes, "Do you hear that? There, do you hear them?" And Logan, he touches the back of. He doesn't hear him. Whatever she's talking about, we know she's talking about. I guess the tellers of secrets, the demons, and he reaches out, touches the back of her neck. Runs, tries to run his fingertips over her skin, but she kind of just like shakes him off, and he just, kind of, this was it. Like, he accepted that nothing's gonna happen here. So then he just says, he gets up, he says, never mind, I'll come back later maybe. And she was still on the floor when he left, and she didn't even look at him leave. So, ouch.
Yeah.
I don't know what you guys' thoughts are on this whole scene, but like, Logan comes in and it is sad, because he is reaching out, but also like he's not like reaching out to her and like just trying to listen to her or try to figure out what the fuck's going on and being patient. He's kind of like, oh, she's not responding. Bye. Just fucking bailed. I don't know. It seems to me like she's obviously dealing with something, and the fact that she doesn't panic. Her face fell because she's like, "Oh, it's you. Here, come here, Logan. Listen to this. You hear this, Logan? Like, she wouldn't do that to anybody else. Are you shitting me? She probably wouldn't tell anybody else anything, even if she was losing her mind, which she kind of is. I don't think she would talk to anybody. I don't know.
Oh my god, I've never thought about it that way, but that puts so much more context into it, and it makes it so much sadder as well.
Mm-hmm.
I feel sorry for both of them, but at the same time, I think Logan is being a bit of a, like you said, he doesn't really try and figure out what's going on. He just kind of goes, "Oh, you don't want to see me, so I'm going to go. See ya."
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And it's just, why are you making me feel things, Joe?
Why are you doing this to me? Yeah, it sucks. I mean, Logan goes there trying to maybe rekindle the romance. Pharaoh, doesn't give him anything, which is understandable considering what she's going through. And he's crestfallen, but like you said, he doesn't even try to put in the effort to kind of like ascertain what's going on, maybe be a bit more empathetic, maybe be a bit more patient. He's very quick to just give up on it.
Yeah, ironically, right? He kind of does the same thing he does anytime he reaches a hand out, and it's not immediately positive.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
he immediately goes into defensive mode, which is a testament to Joe's writing. Like, he's so consistent at these characters that, Logan, if he doesn't get anywhere positive in a short period of time, he's like, well, fuck it, I guess it's the end of the world. I guess I'll just give up. Guess I'll kill him. Like immediately. It doesn't take very much to dissuade him.
Well, yeah, but also at the same time, no. Like, let's remember the Logan in Before They Are Hanged. That dude,
that's true.
That dude had to deal with Giselle, Pharaoh, and Brother Longfoot. Even Malachus Pai, who actually was Talampai, and he kept trying. But that's him trying to be a better man because he's in a different environment, surrounded by different people. Whereas
right
now, once he's returned to,
he's given up to that part of himself
now,
right now.
That whole being persistent, that continuously trying, that's gone.
Yeah, he's kind of like cycled back around to what he became.
Yep.
Before.
Exactly. And then so we get a break from there, and then back to his perspective, and it's how Logan Nine Fingers is no stranger to death. He's walking around the gardens, just the city of Adua, and he's looking at all these bodies that are just piled high and high, and then there's this one because of the wreckage, from the battle, the siege, and the nuclear bomb ish thingy, and
A nuclear tornado.
mm-hmm. And hold on. What's the white metal?
It's the armor of the Eaters.
Oh, okay, gotcha. Thank you. So yeah, and then Logan comes across another mound, and this time Giselle Dan Luthar is on it. Our boy, our king. He's like scrambling. He's trying to lift this giant beam of wood. And Gorse, Bermudan Gorse, he's at the bottom. His arm is in a sling. He's like, "Your Majesty, this isn't safe. You really shouldn't be here." And he's like, "No, this is exactly where I'm needed." And then Logan, he goes up to Gorse and he goes, "How long has he been like this?" And Gorse is just all day and all night, and he doesn't stop. And the few that we found alive, nearly all of them have this sickness, which is what we're gonna just call it, like radiation sickness. Hair falls out, teeth falls out, nails, that kind of thing. It's awful stuff. And then Giselle sees Logan, and he calls him up for his help to move the beam. And Logan goes, "All right, I guess." He climbs the mound. He looks over, and just more bodies, more wreckage. He just goes on and on. And so Logan helps him move the beam. And apparently under the beam, it's a woman staring sideways with a broken arm, and that arm was wrapped around a child with curly hair, dark with blood. So they're both dead. Giselle, he kind of is. I guess he's seen so much of this already that it's kind of like he's not desensitized to it, but he's not surprised either. He's like, he says, all right, we'll put him with the rest of the dead." And then he tells other people to bring like crowbars up to do this and that.
I love this moment with Giselle, like actually fucking stepping up. Like this is the person that he became in his last POV chapter when he chooses to kind of stand up to those two eaters, those bitches, and like he's taken responsibility, the responsibility that he has for his country as the king, and he's getting down and he's getting in when doing the dirty work. He's lifting beams, he's digging people out of the rubble. He's doing the things that Logan wishes that he could do.
Mm-hmm.
And I just think it's so poignant for such a short, and you could almost call it like a throwaway moment.
Yeah.
It's so powerful.
It is
so interesting,
especially after we highlighted so much, like you said, where he's at, and in comparison to Logan. And there's so many layers of like how Logan's just like, "Man, this shit's crazy. I should be with my people helping, but I'm just sulking around." And Giselle, who he started off like a little whiny bitch, is now like, "Quickly, we have to help these people. Hey, you over there, help this man." Blah 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 blah. It's awesome. I totally agree.
No, yeah. And we get another nice little moment with an added layer of confusion when before Giselle moves on to the next area, Logan stops him, puts a hand on his shoulder. He goes, "Giselle, you know me." And Giselle goes, "Uh-huh, yeah, I think so." And Logan's, he asks him, he goes, "All right, tell me something. Am I an evil man?" And Giselle goes, "Whoa, you? You're the best man I know," which is so goddamn hilarious.
You say it's hilarious, but it's also fucking it's heartbreaking.
It is. But here's the thing. The best man he knows is the Logan from Best Before They're Hanged. It isn't the
It's true.
Logan that he's, is currently out and about gallivanting around Adua right now.
But I find it absolutely fascinating that Joe leaves it, like, takes that moment and then never gives us Logan's thoughts about it.
Right. Just cuts right past
Like,
to
we
it.
don't know if he's asking for, he wants validation so that somebody can validate him for his actions, or if he then, like, hears that and, it's all left up to interpretation, and it's... Oh, damn.
I think you're totally right, George. Again, there's so many layers to like him even asking it, and in the like all the subtext of what they're doing in that moment. It's like simultaneously Logan knows the answer to that, but he's hoping for it better because that's what he sees in Giselle, is that somebody who is better and but not because Giselle is better, even though Logan made him better, but because he wants Giselle to, like, maybe give him a hope that he can be better because he thinks he's better with Giselle, and Giselle is being genuine. And it's just, there's so many like layers to that one line, and like you said, he hangs it off so you can interpret it like you said, however you want. It's incredible.
We, like you said, George, we don't get Logan's inner thoughts on that comment. We just skip to a part where Logan has, I guess, come across the Northmen. They're burying the dead, and they are currently burying Harding Grim. And we hear parts of Dogman's speech. His words. He says that he never saw a better man with a bow, not ever, and he can't count the number of times that Grim has saved his life, and Grim's never expected thanks for it. The only thing that he maybe expected was that Dogman could do the same for him, but he says, "Guess I couldn't this time. Guess none of us could." And his voice trails off because people are now looking at Logan approach, and somebody says, "Well, if it ain't the King of the Northmen," and then somebody else says, "The Bloody Nine himself," and then somebody goes, "We should bow, shouldn't we?" And then they're all looking at him, and it's not a good look. They're not looking at him with
Respect.
fondness and respect. And then somebody else, adds like, "Do you have something you want to say, Bloody Nine?" And then he says, "No, you're doing all right." And then somebody said, "Was no reason for us to be here." So a few mumbles of agreement. "Not our bloody fight. No need for them to have died. It should be you that we're burying." And then Logan goes, maybe. But then instead of like crying, he smiled, the Bloody Nine's smile. And he goes, "But you don't get to pick who dies. Not unless you got the bones to put your own hand to it. Do you? Do any of you?" And then he goes, "Yeah, exactly." He says, "Good for Harding Grim, good for the rest of the dead. They'll all be missed." And then he spits and he goes, "Shit on the rest of you." And he just walks away. He's like, "What the fuck? Yeah, best man."
God damn it, Logan.
Yeah, okay. And that's the end of the chapter. It's just, what a dick.
It really does highlight like Logan's kind of backslide. Like he tries to change and he fails miserably, and he doesn't. He just gives up at this point, I think.
Miserably ain't even. That's an understatement, I think.
I mean, he kills one of his friends and gets the other one killed by proxy.
Yeah, I mean, like, I would say astronomically he's failed.
Yes, astronomically is a good one.
I would say he's a dick.
Eloquent as ever.
Yeah, Harrison, you know exactly how to say it. Things that are nice. Yeah.
Thanks, Grandpa.
No. So how would you guys rate this chapter?
Well, I'm going to give this one an 8. And I know that throughout this series, like the reviews have been quite high because, well, we love these books, and it'd be a bit weird if we've given these chapters like 5s and 6s. But
no, it's not.
Oh my god, it's so short.
Though.
It's chopped up into such little segments, but they're all really poignant, and they're all really interesting character moments with all of the characters that we've come to love over this series. So I'd say 8, and if it was a little bit longer, then it would have been a 9. How about you guys?
I think I'm gonna give it an 8 as well because same reason. Like you said, it's got so many just key moments. So George, you've been on fire on this, so I think you've already highlighted everything.
Yeah. Do I want to go 8? I'm leaning towards 7 and a knuckle, to be honest, because the length. Because of the length. Fuck it. Let's get a trifecta. Why not? I'll give it an 8.
Yeah!
For all the reasons that George is just, But yeah, thank you, Harrison. He did a sound effect. Obviously, the listeners can't hear it, but yeah, I give it an 8 out of 9 fingers as well. I mean, like, not much to add on to what George said, but each short segment was just another layer in the character development of Logan, and the vicious cycle of people trying to change who they are but ending up exactly where they started. So yeah, so that's a good chapter read through. Let's move on to our next segment, and just because of how the next chapter is going to go, we're going to do community interaction next. Harrison, go ahead and take it away.
Oh, why? Thank you, Jeffrey. This time I put down as the everyone's preferred character adaptation for the upcoming Best Served Cold movie. Now, obviously, I put character adaptation as a title, and then I thought I explained it well enough, but some people are having some confusion, so apologies for that. Basically, just wanted to see who people wanted to see on screen, the most out of the main cast. I put up Casca, Monza, Shivers, Morveer, Friendly, and Shanked. Apparently, nobody wants to see Shanked on screen. Or at least they don't want to see him over the others.
I thought that was quite surprising because he gets a lot of attention.
Yes, he does, but maybe it's just because the people really want to see these other people. So, Casca's won it at 96 votes, and then Shivers came in second at 88 votes. That makes total sense. Everybody else hung around the same area with Friendly, then Morveer, then Monza, and then Shanked. But yeah, it makes sense that people want to see Casca. Obviously, we all love Casca. We'll see him very soon. More of him. He is very charismatic. He's very unique. But as somebody pointed out, if Casca isn't done correctly, he's going to be so annoying.
So I think somebody said in the comments there, if they just make Casca Captain Jack Sparrow, it's going to be awful. The whole film is just going to be crap. Which is absolutely right.
Still have high confidence with Joe leading the charge and, with how long they've been working on this project. But at the same time, I totally agree with that. Jeffrey, what are your thoughts?
In terms of the most hyped character in the adaptations, or I missed the last part you said. Okay. Okay. Who's my most hyped character to see in the adaptation? I mean, for me, it's for any adaptation, obviously I want to see Glokta and Logan, just all the obvious ones. For Best Served Cold, specifically, I am super excited as to how they're going to cast Morveer and Casca. Monza, we know who that's. It's Rebecca Ferguson. We know that's going to be great. She's a great actress. But those two, I cannot wait. They better get some talented fucking actors because there's just so many. There's so much comedy gold there. I can't wait.
Yeah.
Yeah, especially with Morveer. Because Morveer is so fucking, arrogant and ridiculous and just completely naive at the same time. I don't even know how they're going to pull that off.
One thing I think that we'll forget about with Morveer is an older guy with balding hair. He's going to be kind of creepy.
50s. Yeah. Oh my god. Rotsack Revrom. I cannot
we're almost there, gentlemen. We're almost there.
I cannot wait. So good.
But yeah, I did find it interesting. Of course, no shock there. I figured Shivers was going to win actually because people love Shivers, especially on the First Love subreddit. We'll get to Shivers, but I was surprised as well with Shanked. Friendly got the third most, which Friendly is going to be pretty difficult to do. Isn't this adaptation? They got to be very careful, especially in today's society. So we'll see how they pull that off.
I'm not going to say it. I'm not going to do a joke.
Don't do it. Don't do it.
Do it for the bloopers.
Do it for the bloopers. Fucking say it, Jeff. Say it, Jeffrey.
No. I think I get an actual autistic person to play fucking friendly.
They get someone with fucking Down syndrome.
Oh shit! They should get my brother.
He's kind of short.
He's short, stocky. Has
a killer with a cleaver.
Has temper tantrums. Oh yeah, Peter could do it for sure.
Apologize, my fucking die.
He might throw in a hi honey here and there if you can't help it, but whatever.
Oh shit, that's fucked up. Oh. Anyways, so that's everything. You can go check out the post on First Law if you're curious what people thought. There's some good comments in here as well, just about most of the time people's concerns, which I totally everyone's a little nervous for the movie, but as I said, in the post, or down below inside of the comments, pretty high hopes overall, I think.
All right, well, thank you for that, Harrison. Appreciate the segment there. And then we'll move on to our second and final chapter read through. This is Answers. This is Glokta's perspective. Now, this one is an interesting chapter because it's basically just one long conversation, all the dialogue. But so, Glokta is walking towards his apartment, his quarters, and he's thinking about all the stuff he's got to, like somebody's got to do all the stuff, the questioning of the Gurkish prisoners, rooting out the treason of Lord Brock and all this stuff. Like, who's going to do it? It's not going to be Vitari. It's definitely not going to be Archlector Salt. So who will it be? And then his door, he notices that his door isn't necessarily closed. It's just a little ajar. So he's like, So he pushes it open and he hears a "Why, Superior Glokta? I have been waiting for you." And so then, he smiles, sits at the table, and he goes, "Do I have the pleasure of addressing Master Valent or Master Balk?" And it's Bayaz. Bayaz, he goes, "Well, both, of course." It's like, whoa, man.
Here we go.
So basically, we find out that Bayaz is behind everything.
And it is actually everything in Glokta's story. So the Mercers were involved with Valent and Balk, and so were the Spices.
Mm-hmm.
They gave him the money to save Dagoska, which he couldn't do in the end. But so Glokta's entire story has been basically steered by Bayaz this whole time.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That's fucking mental. What a twist.
Mm-hmm. Yep. So, Bayaz starts off by asking him if he remembers Lord Chancellor Ficht. And then, it's been a while, but he's like, wait, oh yeah, the Golden Chancellor. They say that he basically ran the close council for 40 years. They say he ran the Union. And Bayaz is like, well, we had an agreement, Ficht and I. I made him powerful, and he served me completely. And so Glokta is baffled. You would have me believe that you control the Union for the entire time? Bayaz goes, I started the goddamn Union, with Harad the Great, supposedly. Sometimes he has to take a hand himself in the running of the Union, like this most recent crisis. But mostly he's been at a remove behind the curtains, as it were. And he's basically the puppeteer, and everyone were his puppets, And so Glokta goes, so let's say you are this great architect, and you've given us all of this. Why so generous? And
side note, I love how Glokta looks out the window at the devastation. He's like, why have you given us all this?
So the comedy is so good here. And Bayaz goes, well, it's not because I'm selfless. Khalul had the Gurkish to fight for him, so he needed soldiers of his own. And so then Glokta goes, okay, so then Ficht died, and then he was left naked. And Bayaz admits that, he was so deep in his studies in the library that he didn't really necessarily wasn't more on top of the whole succession aspect in terms of someone to replace Ficht. But then, because he forgets how quickly people die, apparently, considering how long he's lived.
I love how his excuse is he's like, I was just reading some books,
Yeah.
I looked up and 100 years have passed. Oh, fuck.
Mm-hmm.
As it happens.
I do like how, too, again, even though we'll get into this a bit more in a minute, but Bayaz's answer is a very human answer. And he also admits that he made a mistake. Bayaz is stubborn. and likes to pretend like he's invincible, but he also admits when he makes a mistake, and it's very interesting that he does that.
Absolutely.
Yep. And then Glocta's starting to kind of put things together too. He goes, okay, so the death of the Golden Chancellor left a vacuum, and Sultan Moravia, they saw an opportunity to take power for themselves. And then, Bayaz is like, yeah, those guys are both dumb as fuck. Salt wanted to go back to a past where everyone kept their place and did what they were told, and Moravia wanted to give power to the common man. Elections, votes, idiot. And then he goes, he talks about how people don't want the power. They don't want it. They don't understand it. And when, they're like children. They need someone to tell them what to do. And Glocta, someone like you? And Bayaz answers, well, who better suited? And that apparently Moravia thought that he would be using Bayaz in his little schemes, but the whole time Bayaz was using him. And then, and while Moravia was busy battling with Salt over the game was actually already won because of a move that Bayaz had prepared a long time ago, and Glocta, he understands. Oh, Giselle Dan Luthar, but there was a problem. We still had Crown Prince Renault, and then Bayaz goes, yeah, there's going to be some wastage, and then Glocta makes, he basically tells him, oh, so you made it seem like he was killed by an eater, and then Bayaz goes, oh, well, he was. See, not all who break the second law serve Kolul. My apprentice, Yoru Sulfur, he's been known to take a bite or two. And it's like, oh. So now we know that Yoru's a eater as well, officially confirmed. And, Bayaz talks about how it's necessary to be ruthless in war. And I guess, in Bayaz's mind, he's always at war, right, with Kolul. And then he can take forms as well. So Bayaz is realizing, not Bayaz, Glocta is realizing that Yoru was the guard, the one that was like crying outside Prince Renault's door, and he just vanished the next day. And obviously, Yoru was the one that left the clue of the piece of cloth from the emissaries' wardrobe.
Yeah, the very obvious.
Very obvious.
Look at me.
Yeah. So Bayaz, he says like peace with the Gurkish did not suit his purposes, but it was sloppy of Sulfur to make it so blatant. But no one expected Glocta to care so much about the truth when there's an easy explanation. And then he's like, okay, so he, Sulfur heard of the investigations from Severard, and then Malthus went and visited Glocta to tell him to not do it, to stop investigating. And then he also took another face called the Tanner, and inside started a few rebellions with the peasantry. If we all remember that Giselle Dan Luthar, quelled.
He gloriously put down that revolt in like 5 minutes.
Yeah, and then
and if anyone's been paying attention to the color of certain characters' eyes, you mightn't have seen this coming. Because both the Tanner and later with Moravia are both saying, you've got one, he's got different coloured eyes. You've got one blue and one green.
Mm-hmm.
But it's interesting that the guard at the door didn't.
Well, I think they noticed his curly hair, though.
Oh, he did notice his curly hair, did they? Oh.
I think. I could be wrong. But, then he, Glocta accurately, he points out, all to lend glamour to your latest puppet, to Giselle. To make him a favorite with the people, to make the nobles and the close council familiar with him. And so Bayaz is the source of all the rumors. And then Bayaz goes, heroic acts in the ruined West. Giselle Dan Luthar, he did a little more than bitch about the rain.
Fair.
Yep. And then Glocta goes, up, and you rigged the contest too. And Bayaz like, oh, you noticed that? I'm impressed. You were so close to the truth, but it's okay. I had so many advantages. Salt, he was somewhere near the answers, but too late. He suspected from the first what his plans might be, and then which is why Glocta was asked by Malthus to investigate Salt. And then Bayaz goes, the fact that you did not oblige me until the very last moment was the source of some annoyance. And then, Glockta goes, asking nicely might have helped. Anyway, but then,
It's amazing how Glock actually really does respond to kindness really well. You wouldn't think he would, but he actually does.
Yeah. And then, Bayaz says that, he was disappointed when he found out how limited Salt's studies were, like salt and candles and incantations. He was like, pathetic. He said enough to put a timely end to the would-be Democrat Moravia, perhaps, but nothing to pose the slightest threat to me. So this is, remember, George, I think it was me and you, we were talking about this last week maybe, that we, so sulfur. I was of the opinion that sulfur killed Moravia. I think you were the opinion that Salt did.
Yeah, I think for the longest time I thought it was sulfur, but I think it is kind of just confirmed here.
So you think that sulfur visited Moravia, saw the carnage, was just like, okay, I'll just take his form.
Well, yeah, presumably. I mean,
yeah. Well, the thing is that it was an opportunity. Sulfur, despite how he pretends like he can't operate on his own, he makes a lot of decisions on his own, and they're not bad calls. So I imagine, Bayaz is like, hey, Sulfur, you got to stay close to, Giselle, because obviously I can't be there, and we need to make sure he's defended right now. Mm-hmm. So then he saw Moravia was dead, and it was like, oh, well, this is a good opportunity. I might as well just use this to get close to him to make sure that I'm not going to have any weird issues.
Okay. Just, yeah, I guess so. Anyway, so we get what we can ascertain to be confirmation that Salt did somehow kill Moravia with, the Adeptus Demonics. What was his name? Silber? That guy's fucking thing, his little ritual. But never a threat to actual Bayaz. And then Glockta, he's kind of ruminating about like, so all this worrying, distressing between Moravia and Salt, it's for nothing anyway. And then he thinks about he asks him, what about that mysterious visitor to your chambers the day he, first met him? We remember that one where it was actually Ptolemy, but we didn't know it was like the ghost of Logan's wife, and Bayaz blew a fucking hole in the wall. Bayaz, he gets angry, right? He goes, a mistake made in my youth. You will speak no more of it. And Glockta goes, oh, as you command. Oh, okay. And
I always imagine, he doesn't say it here, but I always imagine Glock just voice going, touchy.
Touchy. And he asks him about the great prophet Kolul. And, Bayaz says, the wars can continue, but the methods, the battlefields is all going to be different. Magic leaks from the world. A new age dawns, basically. And, and so then basically he tells him that it was money that, basically did everything. It bought victory in the Gurkish war with King Guslav. It was money that united the Open Council united them behind Giselle. It was money that got Duke Orso rushing over here to defend his daughter. Not the fact that, she's his daughter, whatever. It's all his money, the money that enabled the Glockta to hold the Goska. And it's all Bayaz's money. And, Bayaz is like, Glockta's a little bitter at this point, so he goes, I guess I should congratulate you on a hand well played. And Bayaz goes, that was nothing. This was nothing. I mean, clutch of primitives together under Harald the Great and making them act like civilized men, keeping the Union in one piece through the Civil War, blah, blah, blah. Like, those were hands well played. This was nothing. I hold all the cards, and I always will do. And then Glockta at this point, he goes, I tire of this. And so he just interrupts him. He goes, blah, blah, fucking blah. Okay, this whole self-satisfaction is just fucking, oh my God, just kill me, please. Just blast me to a goddamn cinder now, and let's be done. But do not subject me to any more of your fucking blathering.
That is such a Glockta moment, isn't it? It's just like, oh my God. I'd rather die than listen to somebody fucking... I love how Bayaz started that whole tirade with being sort of like a bit of false modesty, and then he's like, "Oh no, actually, I'm the best." Blah, 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 blah. Just, oh, fuck it.
Oh my god, so good. They just like stared at each other in silence for a while, and then Bayaz kind of just goes, "Kill you, and rob myself of your sense of humor." But Glocta goes, So then, why tell me all this?" And then Bayaz says, "Well, he's gonna be leaving Adwa soon, and it's necessary that Glocta understands where the power lies, and will always lie. It's necessary that Glocta, unlike Salt and Morovia, he has a proper perspective. It's very necessary if Glocta is to serve Bayaz." And Glocta goes, "To serve you?" And then, yeah, Bayaz says, "Yeah, you'll take the task that Feekt had, the task that, a score of great men had before him, that he will be Bayaz's representative here in the Union. He will manage the closed council, the open council, and the king. He will make sure that he has heirs. He will maintain stability. You will watch the board while Bayaz is gone." And then Glocta starts to say, but the rest of the close council will never, accept him or whatever. But he says, the ones that survive have been spoken to. They will bow down. They will bow to your authority under mine, of course. And then Bayaz tells him that he's going to be in touch frequently through his people at the bank, through sulfur, through other means. Glocta will get used to it. And then Glocta says, "I don't guess I have any choice in this." And then Bayaz goes, "Not really, not unless you can repay the 1,000,000 marks I lent you plus interest." And I like how Glocta, he pats the front of his shirt. He goes, "Shit, I left my wallet at work."
It's so unnecessary.
It is. And then Bayaz goes, "Fear you have no choice, but why would you refuse me anyway? You have a chance to help me forge a new age to be a great man, the very greatest of men. You get to have your likeness set in stone on the king's way, and you get to shape the course of a nation."
And the whole time, he's saying all these things about, your statue's gonna be on the king's way, and he's like, "Oh yes, a hideous statue to make children cower in fear or whatever."
And then Bayaz kind of like flicks something at him, and it's the Archlector's ring. And he goes, "Oh my lord," that he's fine. He's worked so hard to get out from underneath a master that he doesn't trust or what have you. Now he's under the thumb of another master. So he puts the ring on his finger and he goes, "Holy shit, it fits." And then Bayaz ends the chapter by saying, "Of course, Your Eminence. I always knew it would."
Dun dun dun.
And
Oh my god.
boom, we get the big reveal that Bayaz was behind it all. So, boys, how would you rate that chapter?
I'm gonna go with a 7 and a knuckle.
Okay.
Because
Let a lot of the Bayaz stuff that you want to talk about, let's save it for the character spot.
yes, my Lord Chamberlain.
Thank you.
Mostly because, well, the reveal is awesome, and it's like, oh, this is crazy, this is whack. But in the first time reading, it's phenomenal. But like in every other read through, it's still good writing, and it's cool to see all the little the notes and the times that he said, or you missed some stuff. But for the most part, it's awesome the first time you read it, not so much the other times because it's coming. So it's like, yeah, it's great, but also like I've read it like 6 times now, so it's whatever.
George?
Yeah, it's gotta be a 9, right? Come on.
What?
Okay.
Just completely disagreeing with you. Come on, this is the best twist ever. It's literally fucking the first time I read this, my fucking jaw dropped. And that literally, like, what the fuck? How dare you, Harrison? How dare you?
I mean, it was pretty awesome. The first time I read it, I was like, "Whoa, that's crazy!" But like, there are so many scenes like in this series where you listen to it and you listen to it over and over again. And you're like, "Oh my god, that's incredible!" Even the last chapter, like, there's so many subtleties and things like that. This is just a big reveal, and it's
It is
great.
a big reveal, and it's just an exposition dump, but it's also funny, and it's also the fucking best twist ever.
Also,
So,
you
9.
did leave out that one thing, right? Or did you say it already? Which is where he's like, blah blah fucking blah.
Yeah, I said that.
Yeah, he did say that. Yeah.
Well, gentlemen, I will split the difference between you two. I will keep the peace. I will give it an 8 and a knuckle. How about that? Does that satisfy you both?
You're like, I am a good god.
I am a kind and just God. Does that satisfy you two?
Yes.
Okay, good. So yeah, it's a great chapter, great reveal. Obviously, like the first time it hit like a fucking Mack truck. So,
Yes.
and sure, like an expedition dump, if you reread it over and over again, it can get like, yeah, sure, maybe, but it is entertaining entirely just because of Glocta, just his inner monologue and his little comedic jabs, jab Glocta. So I'll give it a 8 and a knuckle, and that'll round out rating this chapter. So let's move on to our final segment, which is our character spot, and who else could it be but the man of the hour himself? The spotlight's on him. The newspapers are raving about him. Well, maybe the funeral homes are. The newspapers might not be too happy with him, but you know what? Suppression of free speech and all that, because there's only one way to run an efficient government, right? And it's our boy Bayaz. So we learn from this chapter and the preceding chapters about Bayaz's little historical revelations, like his little jaunts with Juvens and what really happened there, and what happened with Canadius and Ptolemy there. And then and then he's behind every little thing, every like all Glock's like investigations, like you said, Harrison, the investigation into the Mercers, the what else was there, the
Spicers,
the
Dagoska.
Spicers,
Bayaz constantly talking to Giselle about how to be a good leader.
Prince Reynaud, the Valentin
Prince
Vault.
Reynaud, yeah.
Didn't
He probably somehow convinced Ladislas to go to Angland.
maybe
Somehow. I don't know.
maybe
I think it was like a happy accident, wasn't it?
yeah, happy accident. He didn't plan for that, but yeah, and he's behind the Valentin Balk, the most powerful bank. I mean, it's such a.
I mean, it is an interesting way for Joe to. He's making a bit of a point here about the influence that
banks have,
financial institutions have over people in the real world.
Yeah,
and for that to be manifest in this fucking old grumpy man who we thought
in a wizard,
in a wizard, a magus to you.
It's like Wolf of Wall Street meets Gandalf.
I would watch that film.
Or maybe Gordon Gekko and Gandalf. Yeah.
I feel like Bayaz is one of those characters like he's already like intriguing, and he's got all of these subtle notes throughout the story. And you get to this spot, and you're like, wow. And then even he's not even done yet. He's still got bangers. Even when he pops up here and there, he's still consistently the same kind of person. But he does not, at the same time, he's still a human. And he still makes mistakes. And he still admits those mistakes. And he does try different things. And he does try to do better. And just in his own fucked up way. He does care for things. He's just as tired and old and only actually cares about power. He's totally, like, narcissistic. But I'm not convinced he's a sociopath completely. Like, he's just been around for too long. He's such a complex, well-developed, consistently like badass and terrifying character. Like it's just impressive that Joe's able to come up with a character and be just like he's such a presence all the time.
Yep, well said, Harrison. Well said. I mean, I don't even know how to describe him. Could we call him the big bad? Do we just call him the head honcho?
I don't think it's as easy as that. We know that Joe goes out of his way to kind of avoid those sort of stereotypes.
Yeah, those labels. He doesn't like that.
Is he a monster? Oh yeah.
Yeah, he's definitely a monster.
Is he a human being like every other character in this that have made serious mistakes and are always dealing with the consequences? Oh, stop it. He's a magus.
He's a sorcerer. He's a sorcerer.
He's not
No,
a real
because a
human.
sorcerer is born with powers, and he has to learn high art. Actually.
Whatever.
Anyway,
Nerd.
that's all I have
God,
to say about it.
Jeffrey. Just call me a nerd. You started this podcast.
I did.
You fucking weirdo. Why would you start a podcast on a book series?
I'm stupid. I'm a fucking geek. All right. Anyway.
So there's fucking shit tons we can say, especially when you're reading these books. Just every single little thing that Bayaz does, what he says. I mean, even down to like him cheating so that Giselle can win the contest in the 1st book.
Mm-hmm.
We see that from Logan's perspective, and it just seems like he's this sort of like he's a bit petty and he's just like cheating on a bet. But then for that to come round and have these massive ramifications, like 2 books later, I mean, that's just absolutely incredible.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, absolutely. And there's so many like subtle word things he says. It's not just his actions; it's the way he speaks and his like even like with Pacey's cadences. Like it's incredible.
And it's actually quite terrifying to know, you've got this, not all powerful, but he's massively controlling. He's got this kind of innate power into himself, like he can fucking blow people up. And he's also jaded to fuck. That's the scariest thing. The fact that he doesn't scarier than all the evil characters in all the fiction.
Yeah, he just wants to be Khalul and be on top. That's it.
Because he's not like a lot of evil people where he's like, oh, I'm an evil guy because I'm so hurt or broken or misunderstood. He is choosing to be the way he is.
Yeah.
And that's way more terrifying.
Mm-hmm. He knows it and he likes it. That's our show, everyone. We want to thank you all for listening and supporting this podcast. As you know, this is a passion project for the 3 of us, and your support really does mean a lot.
Join us next time as we cover the wounded and patriotic duties.
And make sure you follow us on all our social media and go to our website. It's circleoftheworld.com.
And if you haven't already, please subscribe to our podcast on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Podcasts, or any podcast app. And please make sure to rate and review this podcast. Thank you all again for listening.
Blah, blah, fucking blah.